Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and I did not do a mid-month wrap-up for the month of April because I didn't actually finish any books until like the 17th or something. So all 5 of these books I read in the latter half of April, and I only read 5 books, which is well below average for me, but that's really okay because I've had a really insane month with the work that has been going on my house, and I've had to use my lunch breaks to run home and make sure my kitty cats are okay and stuff like that rather than doing things like reading. So yeah, and I've also been writing at home. I haven't really been reading at home that much. I've been just writing because I've been trying to finish my sequel to Unicorn Hunting. So I did make some serious progress on that, so I'm very happy about that. But anyway, so I'm just gonna talk about the 5 books that I was able to finish in the month of April. The first one I'm going to be talking about is Blue Moon Rising by Simon R. Green. This is a fantasy book about a prince and a princess and a unicorn and a dragon, and this was a really awesome book. I loved how funny it was and how much it poked fun at itself and its whole genre and everything that influenced it, basically. So this very much does fall into the category of witty fantasy. So I really enjoyed reading this, but the one thing that I had kind of an issue with it was that the main girl, she has to marry this guy who she thinks is a complete douchebag, and he really is a complete douchebag. Like, he says all kinds of misogynistic shit, and it's just crappy. So basically, at some point, after she's just kind of, he's the only one she knows where she is, and she's just kind of pissed off, and she needs somebody to talk to and whatnot, she actually winds up sleeping with him, and I'm just like, dude, women are not that fickle. Like, does Simon R. Green just think that women can change their minds about who they think is a douchebag? Because I don't think they can. So then as soon as the guy she actually likes comes back, she's like, oh yay, the guy I actually like. Let's forget about this douchebag again. I still think he's a douchebag. I just slept with him because he was the only one there. And I'm like, dude, no, I don't think that's how it works. I think if someone's a douchebag, they're a douchebag, and you don't really change your mind about that. So I thought that was kind of weird, but that was the only thing that made me kind of give this 4 stars instead of 5, because I think that everything else in it was really awesome. The action was so good, and the characters were super compelling, and all of that, but I just thought that one thing was so annoying. Next, I read The Thousand Names by Django Wexler, and this follows basically 2 soldiers in a fantasy world who are fighting on the same side, but they don't really know each other, so each of their points of views, and this is told in dual perspective, each of their points of views tells a different corner of the story, sort of, because they barely know each other or anything, like their stories are not interconnected, and so one is just this dude, and one is this chick who's disguised as a dude for a lot of reasons, and she has a very interesting backstory and whatnot, and I really enjoyed her chapters because A, she's a lesbian, and B, she has a very interesting backstory about where she came from and how she wound up dressed as a dude in the middle of freaking nowhere. So it was a very interesting story, very well thought out, but I thought that a lot of what happened in this book was kind of just a whole bunch of action with very little plot until halfway through. So it was kind of like, and then they broke the ranks, and then blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, so is there a story in here somewhere besides just fighting? And I love fighting, I love books that are very heavy on the military aspect, but I felt like there was all that was to this story for a good while, and I think part of that is because it is the first book in a very long series that I think is gonna keep going on past the 5 books that are out in it so far. But I did really enjoy this book. I just felt like it was lacking in the actual plot department and very much felt like a first book in a series that was kind of just there to set things up. It wasn't bad though. It was a good book, very well thought out, very good, all that stuff. Next, I read Americanized by Sara Saidi, and this is a memoir about her life as an undocumented immigrant from Iran. Parents moved her to the US when she was 2 and her sister was like 5, and basically they didn't really find out that they were undocumented until she was about 13 and her sister was 16, and her sister tried to apply for an after-school job and realized that she didn't have a social security number, all that stuff. So it is a very interesting story. I mean, I'm Persian, so I really appreciate a lot of Persian memoirs, and and especially Persians immigrating to here from Iran, because that was like my mother's story, even though my mother was like 18 when she came here. But basically this made me kind of go, oh, that's really cool about the stuff that I did know, and also taught me a lot that I didn't know, because I'm Persian, but I'm not from Iran. I didn't come here from Iran. I've never even been there, all that stuff. So this book did teach me a lot of stuff that I didn't know before, and I thought that was really great. And it was also told in this very amusing way that very much captures like her teenage voice and whatnot, and the stuff that she was into at the ages that she is in this book. And I just thought that was really great, and just the fact that it's a true story made it super, super good. Like hearing the perspective of an undocumented immigrant from someone who lived that and wasn't just an immigrant but actually had those additional problems as well. It was so interesting, and I absolutely loved the absolute crap out of this book. I can't even like sing its praises enough. The next book I'm going to talk about is an arc that I got from NetGalley, and that is Mirage by Somaya Dawood, and I had been really looking forward to this book for a while. It was one of my most anticipated book releases of the latter half of the year. It is a Moroccan-inspired sci-fi slash fantasy, mostly sci-fi, and it's really awesome. It's kind of space opera-esque in that it does take place on multiple planets, and I really did love that aspect about it. I also loved that it's a good story about friendship and about family, and it had such compelling world building that I could not get enough of. I'm so excited to read more in that series because it's so interesting, and just seriously, the world building was like A+, super well thought out, really good. But basically, it is about a girl who is kidnapped from her, like, village way out in the provinces to be the body double of the princess that conquered her people, like, of the people who conquered her people. So she does not want to do this, but she has no option because they'll kill her if she doesn't. And basically, so she pretty much has to impersonate the princess just all the time because people hate the princess and she might die at any point. So it's very, very interesting. So the only thing I didn't like as much about this book is the romance, because I felt like it was kind of just so-so, and I really wanted to like the romance, but it was kind of just okay, and I didn't really care about the romance at all. So that's the only reason that I gave this 4.5 stars out of 5, because the rest of it was so incredible. But the romance just didn't do it for me, didn't do anything for me at all. But I did really love this book, and I highly recommend it. And last but not least is The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan, and this, it's really cold in my hand because it has been in the freezer overnight because a little bit of water got spilled on it from the hot tub at my hotel. So anyway, this book is the 4th one in the Wheel of Time series, and we just did our live show as I'm filming this. This is like right after we did the live show on it. So if you want to hear more of Jade's and my thoughts on this series, and anyone who had input from the chat as well, you can watch the video on Jade's channel that I'll link down below. And basically, I think this is probably my favorite so far because so much happens in it, and but also it's kind of crazy because it's the one that has the most like minor characters that are new that aren't in it a whole lot, so I got a lot of people kind of mixed up. But at the same time, yeah, you can watch all of our thoughts on that live show. Those are the books that I read in the month of April. Let me know what your thoughts are on these books, if you have read them, have thoughts on them, etc., etc., and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!